Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to this episode of Time to BS Podcast. And now to thank the sponsors of the show, starting with Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First off, it's free. That's right, FREE free. There are creative tools that allow you to record and edit your show right from your phone or even your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast on iTunes, Google Podcasts, and many more. It's the best way and everything you need to make a podcast, all in one simple place. Download the free Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's anchor.fm today. Hello, friends. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Time to BS Podcast, part of the Unhinged Sports Network. Now, to thank the sponsors who support this show. Are you looking for your team's favorite gear at the best prices? Look no further than Fanatics.com. Fanatics is a proud sponsor of the Unhinged Sports Network and Time to BS Podcast. Fanatics has some great deals all day, every day. Get your fan on at Fanatics.com. U Stadium is home to the best sports fans around. Chat and debate with fans every day and win some great prizes along the way. U Stadium has supported us since the very beginnings of our show at the days of the Sports Cave. And you can support them too. Download U Stadium on Apple and Google today. Time to BS Studios is home to Time to BS Podcasts, The Sports Cave, and BS Sessions. Follow us on social media on Twitter and Instagram at Time to BS Podcast for updates on future episodes. The Sports Cave streams live weekly on YouTube, and BS Sessions is home to the realest talk around. Join the BS Army and follow us on our journey today. Thanks for tuning in, guys, to all of those advertisements. Now, as they always say in theaters, enjoy the show, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, we fucking made it.
It's time to BS.
It's not one of my proudest moments, that's for
And
sure.
you paid the price this Sunday for it. You paid the piper.
Yes, oh, thank you, Karma.
The Church of Josh Allen.
Yes,
Church of
the
Josh
Church
Allen.
the Church of Josh Allen.
LG sins against you.
Yes, the Church of Josh Allen is not pleased with me right now.
A U Stadium podcast.
Still struggling?
And part of the Unhinged Sports Network. And now to start your weekend with us.
It's time to BS.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Time to BS Podcast. We are here for episode 107 live on the Unhinged Sports Network every Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. I got you covered wherever you get your podcasts. I am Staniel Smooth. We got some stuff to talk about, as per usual. I got you covered here for the next 2 hours, so you're stuck with me. Or you could go to sleep, but regardless, I got you covered. Tons to get to. In the middle of the show, we got an exclusive interview with European Hall of Fame quarterback Stan Bedwell. Fun time indeed. But let's get to some sports talk. So I'm in a good mood. I'm in a very good mood. The Islanders are, as I'm recording this, Game 7 whatever happens is whatever happens. I'm only gonna say this. Whatever happens, this is the best feeling in the world. As an Islander fan, of course. I mean, sorry, I'm just talking back and forth with friends and shit. So if it sounds like I get distracted, I am. I'm very distracted. But it's a good time to be an Islander fan. Whatever happens, just feel grateful. Feel grateful for the journey. And it feels great knowing that, you have management and, ownership, coaching. It feels great that you have all those things that actually care about the team. Like, that actually care about the team. It feels great. And enough me rambling about the Islanders, but we got some stuff. Nassib comes out as gay. I'm not gonna lie, that's heartwarming. That's heartwarming as hell, because, I mean, surely it doesn't happen that much in sports that you got, gay or lesbian athletes. I mean, you have Megan Rapinoe, who's probably the most famous one, but over the U.S. women's national soccer team. But it's heartwarming because someone I know recently came out as bisexual, and he loves all the support that he's been getting. And, it feels good knowing that you have hope for a better tomorrow and like a brighter tomorrow in this world. I mean, fuck everything else. I mean, it feels great knowing that you have a chance for a better tomorrow in general. And it's great to know. It's fantastic to know that you have, players like Carl Nassib who are giving, athletes who want to come out, like, give them hope. Just give them hope in general. And it's heartwarming to see, stuff like that. So, I'm only going to cover that short because no one is here to join me, unfortunately. Because, hello, I am alone. I am alone in this cave of spots and bullshit. But, what else is there? What else is there going on? Yes, the Seattle Kraken have hired former Flyers head coach Dave Haxtell to be the first head coach in franchise history. That's nothing new. It's nothing major. The 76ers can go fuck themselves because they're pieces of shit and basically they're overbearing. So fuck them. Fuck the Nets in particular too. Fuck them especially. Good God. They did it themselves. You invest heavily in offense and you can't defend. The Broncos learned this in Super Bowl 48. You're welcome, Mike. But in like a god-honest nutshell, this was coming. This was coming for the Nets. It was coming. James Harden can't defend. Kyrie Irving kind of can defend. Kevin Durant, same shit. You invested heavily in 3 ball hoggers who don't play defense for the most part. And just... there's a reason why this series went to 7. And ultimately the Nets lost in 7. It's because Milwaukee was better defensively. Duh. No shit. So... what else is going on? I got a whole note section for this crap. But, yes, the NCAA. Oh yeah, they lost a Supreme Court case for athletes to get paid. Here's what my thoughts are on this. I'm torn on it. I'm relatively torn because, I don't know. It's interesting. It's also really late, and excuse me, probably should be getting to sleep soon, but figure you'd get my thoughts on this quickly. I'm out of time, per se. I do have a story to tell, but I'll wait till whenever the guys get back. But it feels good that things are getting back to normal, per se. It feels good that, you get certain situations that are just getting back to normal. So, Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. So let's go into the interview with Stan Bedwell, and I'll see you guys later on the show.
It's time to BS.
Mr. Sveshnikov!
A U Stadium podcast.
Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 107 of Time to BS podcast. I am your host, Staniel Smooth, Dan Cruz. Joining me for a nice little sit down, former quarterback Stan Bedwell. How you doing, my man? Good to see you.
Good. I thought you were going to say a very special guest.
Indeed.
They always say that. They always say very special guest, but
Well,
I
I
wouldn't
was
feel
certified
special if you said it.
wise-ass.
If you said that 106 other times, I wouldn't feel very special anyway.
I'm a special kind of wise ass, if you don't put it that way. How you doing, my man? Thank you for taking your time
doing
to
good.
do this.
I got all the time in the world right now. I'm back home in Arkansas visiting family, and this is my only chance I get to talk to humans. The rest of it's just talking to my dog.
Oof. Well, how is it? How is life as a former pro quarterback? I mean, because I was looking over your accomplishments. You got 101 wins. I mean, 36,000 passing yards. I mean, 11-time MVP. I mean, you spent most of your time in Europe, you said, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, since basically my entire career up until the spring league this year. So it's pretty much a one-trick pony, and then kind of lucked into my connection I have with Coach Mummy to
All right. Well,
an
tell me
opportunity in
more.
the spring league.
Yeah, well, tell me more about your career over in Europe. How different is it compared to over here in the States?
Well, it's incredibly diverse because if you take the top teams in Europe, top teams in Germany, for example, then I think that they would fit in quite well with, say, the spring league.
Okay.
If you take, even the first league of some of the more developing countries like Romania, which I played in 2019, that's going to be on par with a really low level Division III type team.
Okay.
So it's it's quite diverse, and you'll have these levels that's really low, but then there might be two former NFL players. You might have a team where the starting middle linebacker and Sam linebacker both played for Division I's or in the NFL, and then the will linebacker is like 5'9", 170 and 17 years old. So or
I like how I played in high school.
or he's 48 years old. So you get so much diversity. And the same thing, with fans. You watch the German championship, you might get 25,000 people at that. You watch the Romanian championship in 2019 when we played there, and there was about 300. So
Nice.
you go from playing in massive professional stadiums to, I played in some countries like Serbia. I played literally in pastures. So it's really hard to nail it down to one thing, because
It sounds different.
No
it sounds so different. It sounds incredibly different, and you don't know where you're going to be. It's like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to play, in the middle of like a cornfield or whatever, or if I'm going to play a 300,000 seat stadium, like you said before.
Yeah. I mean, it's very, I've been places where there was no bathrooms. There was just like a little outhouse with like a hole cut out if you needed to, use a bathroom. So you kind of have to squat.
You got to improvise somehow.
Yeah. And then, other places, I mean, it's, as nice a locker rooms as you get at, Division I colleges here. It's just completely diverse in every single way.
Now, it says here you have the European League record for 11 touchdown passes in a single game. Take me through that. You must have been on during that whole game. You were just like, you know what? I feel like I'm gonna go 11 touchdown passes today. Let's see how it goes. And
Well, I had 9 at halftime. We tried not to score in the second half, but it's just one of those things that, I mean, I could take credit or I could give credit to the other team because the Verbis Hunters in 2009 Serbian football were not a powerhouse. So
Serbian football. That's the cold. Were you playing in the? What was the coldest you were involved in games?
Well, Serbia is not Siberia, which would be
I was
cold as
thinking
shit.
Siberia. Oh
Yeah,
man,
Serbia. Yeah, you're southeastern Europe. It's hot as hell there. That's probably the hottest place. That's probably the hottest place I've ever played, besides maybe Houston on Saturday when we played the game there. It was. I've heard talk that that the temperature on the turf was 130 degrees this past Saturday, and I wouldn't doubt that. It was terrible.
Oof. No.
Coldest probably. I mean, I played in Finland several years. Never really had a cold game, but I had practices where, the wind chill would be negative 25, negative 30, and we'd be out there trying to throw the ball around and stuff. You'd have to shave because your entire beard would freeze while you were out there, and it would just be. I'd look like I was Santa Claus out there.
Now, do you prefer playing in the heat or you prefer playing in the cold?
Either, really. Yeah. Give me like 65 or 70 and sunny with a slight breeze, and I'll be a happy man.
Yeah, that sounds like. I've never been to Arkansas, but that sounds like good Arkansas weather.
Maybe Northwest. I mean, we're from Southwest, down near the Texas border, near Texarkana. So where we're at, it gets pretty dang hot.
All right, I'm stuck here on Long Island, here in New York. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But I mean, we get pretty we get cold during the usual football season over in fall, and because I'm smack on the water, and the wind chill coming straight for us. Like we had this one time. I played linebacker, and primarily as a pass rusher. We had this one practice. I remember this like it was yesterday. Freezing rain, like 12-degree rain. It was awesome. And we were doing sprints the whole day, whole practice. We were doing sprints the whole time. It was great. What was your favorite kind of practice that you remember throughout your career? I know it's a very obscure question, but
yeah, the CTE makes it hard for me to remember a lot of it.
It's dark.
I don't know. I mean, I'd say, for the last, since I learned this air raid stuff, I mean, you basically practice the same way every single practice when you're doing that. So pretty much everywhere that I've been for the last 13 or 14 years, we practice pretty much the same way. Yes, I can remember a youth practice where we just split up the teams and decided to have a game, which, I mean, I'm sure that's pretty common at that age group. But I remember at halftime we went to use the bathroom, and I was like, we had this tree line where we'd go pee because, we're in Arkansas and we don't have bathrooms. And there was this defensive lineman named Ralph Morrison who was really big, and he got a cheap shot on me in the first half. And so he took off his pads to use the bathroom, and I went over and I pissed on his shoulder pads and jersey. that was a pretty good practice.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah. Then the worst part is he put it back on and kept practicing. I don't think he realized it because, well, he was a really big guy and he was very sweaty. So
yeah, you got covered up somehow.
Yeah, probably pissed off whatever O-lineman had to block him the rest of the practice.
Oh, that sounds great. How does progression as a quarterback usually the same in Europe as opposed to the States, or is it different defensive alignments?
I mean, I would say that if you're looking at defenses, it's just diverse. I mean, you play some places where the level is it's in such an infancy stage that they're only playing, cover 2 or cover 4 or 1 or 3.
Wow.
Always 1 high, always 2 high, things like that. I mean, you play some places where, you're seeing as many coverages as what you're going to see, say, in the spring league or in, a high level college. But,
Right.
I mean, as a whole, I'd say from all my time of coaching, because I've coached junior college football for a long time. Came back and did that in the fall for 5 years. And coached Division III for 2 seasons. And I'd say, on average, it's probably pretty similar to what we were seeing in small college ball. In the spring league, despite this small amount of practice time, there was, and the fact that we basically had to have a 4-man front defensively, you still saw, so many different wrinkles and so many coverages. And that was something that was that I thought was actually pretty cool. It
Yeah.
was pretty challenging for me, not so much reading the defense and making the throws, but reading the defense and helping to make the right play calls, or coaching Ryan up on the sideline when he came over to make sure we were all on the same page with what they were doing.
Would you run certain audibles to piss off your coaches? Because I would talk to a couple quarterbacks, and they say they would run a couple like cheap shot audibles to like point fingers at their coach, like, I did that. Suck it. Would you ever do that?
Like my actual coach or the opposing
Like
coach?
he would call, like your offensive coordinator would call the play, and
Yeah.
you would change the play like mid formation. Like you would change the play. I've talked to a couple quarterbacks that have done that out of a joke per se. I would actually go pretty well. Would you end up doing that?
Well, the game that I got in and played quarterback in the spring league, mommy told me to go in and just ice the game running it. And my second play, I checked to all verticals. Ended up scrambling and getting my head knocked off. But and then he yelled at me pretty good about that. And then a few plays later in the drive, I checked to another pass through a screen, and that's when we scored. That's when I had my pass touchdown or whatever.
Beautiful.
But yeah, he was pretty pissed at me because I ended up throwing the ball 5 times, and we only called 1 pass. But I knew I wasn't going to play much in there, and I wanted to get mine too. So
hey, you gotta get your filling.
yeah, I figured he'd forgive me, and I guess he has. But
maybe.
But no, I mean, I don't know. The thing about air raid, and like I say, it's hard to even think back before running this, because basically anywhere I've been since 2009, it's what I've been doing. And this offense in Europe, I've never had a coordinator. I've called since my first year. Our head coach called the plays, but from 2007 on, every snap in Europe, I called my own plays.
Nice.
And then I was from 2009 on, outside of maybe 1 year, I was the head coach, offensive coordinator, and quarterback at the same time. So,
oh wow,
yeah, I kind of did it all. That's not something they really talk about on TV, but
that's very rare. That's very rare. Like,
yeah,
I've never heard of that actually.
Yeah, there's been a few others that have done it in Europe. I'm sure I've probably done it longer than anyone else has, because I did that for a really long time, and I think the total games in Europe, it's a lot more than the 101 wins if you count just the coaching, because I also had about 3 or 4 seasons that I only coached and didn't play. So I had a few elbow surgeries that kept me out, and then 1 year I got an opportunity to go coach in the GFL, highest level of Germany. So I went and did that and just coached once.
How was coaching for you? Was coaching a lot easier for you as opposed to playing, or would you, if you had to pick between coaching or playing, what would you do?
I definitely preferred playing, and I probably, truth be told, would have played, for forever. I kind of thought about this. I've thought about this a lot because my plan, I was actually signed as a head coach and quarterback for a team in Finland since January. And I was booking my flight to go there when I got the text from Coach Mummy asking me to come to the spring league with him. And it's been my plan still that as soon as the spring league ended, I was going to go over to Finland with that team. And they've been they were very gracious, waiting on me to, not be there in the preseason. Actually, their first game was the same day that we had the Mega Bowl last Saturday. But they waited this whole time for me. And
That's heartwarming.
yeah, I mean, it was really cool that they, committed to me that much, and it made me feel like a real ass whenever Monday I called them and said, "Look, I'm not coming."
Oof.
But it was just, I don't know. Like I said, it seemed like a movie, almost like a rite of passage. Like I showered up, walked back out on the field just to go get one last glimpse at it, because I didn't do that. Our last game that we played in Indy at Lucas Oil. That's when we hit a field goal with basically no time left to win it. And, it was so much excitement there. We celebrate, then we go off the field. And then, we're trying to go back to the hotel and celebrate some more. And you don't really think about like taking in the moment.
Yeah.
Of just like the fact that, hey, I just played the last 5 weeks in an NFL stadium where Peyton Manning and, Johnny, well, I don't know if Johnny, you played there. He actually didn't, but
I mean, I played at Baltimore, yeah.
But Peyton Manning,
Andrew
and
Luck,
Marvin Harrison, and Andrew all of these guys,
yeah,
right? All of these guys have played there. I mean, shit, Phillip Rivers, right? And I didn't take that in, so. And I thought, like, man, I never thought, like, well, we're not, because we played our last game at Butler University because there was like a monster truck rally or something at Lucas Oil that weekend. But, I regretted that, not just kind of looking back at it one more time and being like, okay, this was awesome. So I was like, okay, let's go out and see this and take it in. And it's like the second I hit the field, I was just kind of like, this is kind of a good way to end it. I mean, I could go back to Europe and win another championship, but what's really the difference between 5 over there or 6 over there? Or at the same time, it's like I could go over there and lose, and then I'm the type of competitor that if I lost, I'd be like, well, of course I'm going to go back next year because I have to win one. I got to end it on top. So it was just kind of there's really nothing left to prove over there. And I mean, the spring league was definitely like the pinnacle of a level I'm going to play. I never went into it with a mindset that I'm going to be a 36-year-old, 5'10" rookie quarterback in the NFL or anything like that. For me, it was all about going there and actually making those connections to hopefully springboard the coaching career to the professional level.
Mm-hmm.
And, right now there's so much happening with, the XFL in 23, but more exciting for me right now is the USFL and, coming next spring. And I mean, from being there with the spring league and kind of getting a little bit of insight of the business plan for what they're doing there, it seems completely sustainable. TV is always a huge issue with basically spring leagues live and die by television and television ratings. And when you have Fox as one of the main owners of the league, you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
And, it seems good, and it seems like there's a lot of opportunities there. And, we're kind of keeping fingers crossed that there's going to be some opportunities coaching there. And so now it's just kind of waiting to see how all of that pans out.
That's awesome.
But, I mean, that's definitely, after coaching college, 7 seasons of college ball, and then just getting the taste of the professional ball this year, it's definitely it's what I'd like to do.
Now,
it's a completely different level. The mentality, you don't have to say things over and over again. You don't have to deal with pissed off parents.
no.
I loved it, man. Loved everything about it.
Good shit. Going back to you saying that one of your biggest regrets about not taking it all in when you were leaving Lucas Oil Stadium over in Indianapolis, is that the biggest regret you've had throughout your career playing and/or coaching?
No, I mean, there's definitely, if I go back and I look at some places in Europe, there's places that I didn't perform to the level that I knew that I could as a player or as a coach. And I mean, basically any season that I didn't win a championship, I have a lot of regrets for because, we didn't do the job that we set out to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I could look back on a ton of those, or just individual plays of my first championship game I made in Europe. We lost by 1 point. We scored with about a minute left, and Finland went for the 2-point conversion and the win. And then it was a bootleg pass, and I ended up hitting our running back right in the chest in the corner of the front of the end zone, and he dropped it.
Ooh.
But going back, I've questioned the play call of that, and there's a lot better play calls that could have been made in that situation, I think. I mean, that one could have worked, but really any play can work if you execute it well. But there's a lot of better plays we could have ran. And I mean, that one haunted me for 2 years until a year and a half until we won the championship the next time I played. But I mean, I lost sleep over that one for a full year, just replaying that play in my mind. And probably the most regrets would be that certain plays that you look back on and think like, why did I throw that ball, or why did I make that play call? We should have ran it more. We should have done this or that.
I have a big regret that I've had when I played. Here on the island, we had this team. We had a team that was on a 21 game winning streak, and there was like a 12 games. Every time, come on.
Well, you gotta be more professional. I have my phone on silent here. What are we doing?
No, it was an alarm. It was an alarm because I have a trainer, and I was supposed to send him a meal tracking sheets. Oh, and I have it set for 7:30 every day, and it just goes off. I lost track of time.
Okay, back to your story. I mean, you looked real. At least that made you smile again because
you
brought up the regret, and then your face looked just down in the dumps, really sad. I mean, do we really want to go down this rabbit hole right now?
No, it's good. It's good because it was the last game of my football life. You can put it that way. I didn't play in college. I didn't play I wanted to play in college, but I wasn't at that right skill set per se. We were on this team we were playing against. It was in the second round of a playoff game, and they were on a 21 game undefeated streak. They were the reigning champions, and it was 14-6. We were down 14-6 for 57 minutes of that game. And we thought, all right, it's going to be a defensive slugfest. We had them too. And they kicked the crap out of us in the regular season, like 49-7. And we had them for most of the game. And they were on their own 10 or 15-yard line. And they were trying to run the ball the whole time. So we knew a play action pass was coming. We didn't see the tight end going straight up the seam. 85 yards. 85 yards, touchdown. Oh,
them damn tight ends get you every time, man.
Every time, the tight ends. Every time. Not usually the running backs, but it's usually the tight ends out of nowhere. And, oh, man. But that was it was a bittersweet moment per se. It was my coach's last game. It was my last game. So I figured, you know what? If we're gonna go out, we go out in style. And we were just one of the players that on the opposing team, I'm still good friends with him. He talks about it's like, hey, you remember that tight end seam? It's like, yeah, thanks, asshole.
Yeah.
They were really
Yeah.
great. They were a great team then. They were a really good team. Oh, but oh jeez, now I got memories. I'm like, because I got my high school jersey somewhere in this pile of apartment.
This has been like a family reunion here. So since we've started this, I heard my grandma walked outside. I heard her talking, and then I heard my parents' voices. So my parents came to visit her. They brought her some cucumbers
Oh, that sounds great.
from the garden. Yeah.
That sounds great. Slice them up, grill them up. Oh, I haven't ate all day. Jeez.
Yeah. That is the fun thing about coming back home for a bit and seeing family is they usually, that Southern cooking usually get some pretty good food every night.
Oh yeah. I mean, the farthest down south I've been was over in the Carolinas.
Hey, Grandma, do you want to come and say hi? You can come wave.
I don't want to scare him.
How you doing? How you doing?
He said, "How are you doing?"
I'm doing okay.
Oh, you see,
I wear hearing aids, so I probably can't hear you, but hi. Y'all have fun. Y'all have fun.
That was heartwarming. That was heartwarming as all hell.
Yeah, that's what I try to do. This is a family program.
Now, family has always been your biggest supporter no matter what. I mean, no matter what you're doing, you're always putting family first above anything, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's, especially my immediate family. I don't know. This is bad, and I hope that a ton of my family doesn't watch it because it'll come off a lot worse than it is. But, there's like the big wide families of, you got your aunts and your uncles and your cousins and great aunts and all that stuff. And then everybody's like, and it's like an American culture thing where everybody's like, we throw out love, like, oh, you're my cousin that I've never met. I love you. And it's like, do I really love this cousin I've never met?
See, I don't blame on that one. I've been through that before.
There's that thing. But then there's like, for me, it's like, all right, obviously my parents, my brother, and then especially my mom's on my mom's side, her mom and dad, which this is my grandma here. That was like who raised me. And my grandpa, my grandma's husband, he passed away while I was in Romania in 2019, and that was like, pretty tough for one of the probably 5 closest people in the world to me that I wasn't here when that happened. And so now I really, really, and I did before to an extent, but now I really make a point of basically every day if I'm back home visiting, that I'm over here hanging out with grandma. And
of course.
Yeah. So
of course.
Yeah. Got to hang out with them while you can, man.
Yeah. Cherish the moments you have. Cherish the moments you have with the people you care about the most.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely. When my dog passed away 2 years ago, I got his paw print tattooed on my forearm.
Oh, now you're gonna make me cry.
Oh, I'm sorry, brother.
Let's see. I got my dog, and I got him actually in Romania. I got him a few weeks. I got him like not long after my grandfather had passed, but I got a Bichon Frise. Or Bichon, people here call him Bichon Frise. I don't know if that's English or if I just say it wrong all the time. It's French, so I'm pretty sure coming from France, it would be like Frise or something. He sounds more fancy when I say that. But yeah, so I got my dog Bobby, and he's been everywhere with me. And then everybody always like clowns about the name Bobby, and then I named him after my childhood best friend who had a car accident and passed away in 2018 as well. So that's always like a good way of people being like, that's a stupid name for a dog. To me, I kind of set them up to make them feel like shit whenever I'm like, oh yeah, named him after my best friend. Thank you. Thank you for calling his name stupid.
Yeah, there you go. Oh boy.
Yeah. This just took a dark turn.
Oh man.
Now we could talk about critical race theory and abortion. How about that?
I love it. I love your personality. I love it. We only just met. I already love it. But yeah, take away from the dark turning more now to the happy side. Um, if you could name your five or like one of your favorite plays to run throughout your career or in coaching, what was your favorite play to run? Was it a bootleg? Because you said you
hell
were you said you were a you said you said you were a 5'10" quarterback. You said.
Yeah, that's being generous at 5'10". I'm 5'10". I'm 5'11" with cleats on.
So
Uh,
now would you consider yourself to be like a more mobile guy or just like sit there, throw darts?
um, I definitely prefer to be a pocket guy, but I've always been really good at improvising. I'd say earlier in the career, before I learned the air raid offense, I was definitely more of a rollout type guy. But then, when you learn the air raid, the whole thing about the offense is you have a little bit wider splits, and now you're not throwing over the lineman, you're throwing between the linemen.
Really?
And then with the experience of running it, you get used to that you're throwing between them, and it's not about, oh, I got to see over these 6'6" guys. I see between them.
Really?
Yeah, so that's where you find your windows there. For me, it was always four verticals because I think it's the most unstoppable play in all of football, and it's not like, oh, the Hail Mary, let's throw it deep, but there's so much field to defend because you can throw back shoulder fades, you can bend them to grass. You outside release your receivers. If it's manned by the defenders, they're going to have to receiver outside releases them. They're going to have to turn towards the receiver, which puts their back away from you, or like their back towards you. Their eyes are away from you. And so you really you attack leverage and you attack defenders' eyes. And if it's zone, you attack, the field zones. And so I've always loved four verts because you just come out and run it over and over again. And, I'd probably, through my career as an OC, and it probably, like, people would probably argue that I did it even more, but I'd say probably average running four verts about 25 times a game.
Nice.
Now I might throw the ball deeper than 30 yards once or twice in that, but it's literally just about the spacing of, I'd say on average it's probably about 15 yards is where the ball is, 15 to 20 is where it's getting caught.
And it all depends on where the DB's aligned to, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're pressing and there's no safety help, I'm going to find, on the outside, if the corners are pressing, I'm going to catch and throw. I'm going to catch and throw my best matchup. If it's one high, I always feel like basically everything beats one high. If it's one high and you're getting a man, then again, just pick your matchup. If it's zone, then it's going to be most likely a cover 3 type look. And then you're going to really work the seams there. And with the way we run verts, there's so many plays built in that we teach man turn and zone turn by the defenders. If they zone turn, which is shoulders, like they're turning their numbers in towards the quarterback, we teach those outside receivers to kind of get lost and drop off almost like a comeback. We teach the inside receivers, if they can't win deep, once they get to 10 yards, they make a decision. If the safety's bailing, I can't win deep, I'm just going to settle it up at 10 yards. Or depending on, what we're teaching, one might settle at 10 yards if you can't win deep, and the other might bend it and have the whole middle of the field more like a post. So much is into that. And we could also always tag hitches or, our flat routes. We call it Friday. That's 5-yard outs. We can just tag that too. So, we can stick an inside hitch by, a slot receiver if he's uncovered. It just becomes a play that you can basically line up and run it over and over again. And it looks like, if you took the film of those, say if I ran it 25 times, a defensive coordinator, if he's charting the plays where the receivers are going, he might draw up 20 different things, but it's just one play. And just the diversity of that play is definitely why I love it. And also, I mean, the mesh play is a great concept. I think any true air raid person really loves the mesh play as well.
Now, do you watch a ton of college football? Sometimes.
Oh yeah, I watch a lot of college football.
So, what was now when the air raid was at its peak in college, which was maybe a few years ago, particularly Texas Tech with Cliff Kingsbury was running over at Texas Tech with Patrick Mahomes and Baker Mayfield and so on. Which college offenses were your favorite to watch?
I mean, I don't know if people talk a peak. I mean, I'd say every year the air raid peaks more and more because more and more teams are running it. It's just becoming so normal now. Oklahoma is definitely Lincoln Riley's an air raid guy.
My friend Mike would love you already.
Yeah,
he's in Oklahoma. He's born and raised in Oklahoma. Big Sooner guy. He loves Lincoln Riley to the core.
Oh, I mean, he's phenomenal. But yeah, I mean, there's so many of them. For me though, if I'm talking major college football favorite offenses, it's basically. I mean, I fell in love with it with Mummy and Leach running it at Kentucky with Tim Couch back in the 97, 98, 99 around then. But really, really when Mike Leach was at Texas Tech, so that was 2001 to 2010, 9 or 10. Really love that. And then following him at Washington State and, excited to see when he gets his guys in at Mississippi State, what they're going to do because, this year there was a talk of, will it work in the SEC? And I mean, it's been working in the SEC. Yeah. Johnny Manziel ran it for years in the SEC. It's not that people haven't ran it. It's just people need to have talking points to talk about. And so it's easy to make it sound like, it just finally came back, but it's been around. Yeah. And it'll stay around.
Yeah. From like a quarterback perspective, you can tell with certain teams or with certain players in certain teams, it's like, like let's say throw Penn State in there, for example, because Penn State fan. Like, let's say, it could work in the Big Ten. Like from a quarterback perspective, you could tell me, yeah, it's gonna work if they got the right players and stuff like that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a simple offense. People build up the air raid like it's, is this gonna work here? Because the defenses are fast, or the receivers are pretty damn fast in the SEC too.
I would say, yeah.
There's I think everything is always relative. When people say, well, you can't run forever people said you can't run, the read option in the NFL because those DNs are just so fast.
Yeah, you can.
And I mean, I'd say that, Lamar Jackson would probably tell you that's not true.
Yeah.
I think that people always want to be experts and
gonna show you my favorite football team. You're probably gonna get surprised from someone who lives in New York. But I have one ring to show that.
The Seahawks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that, or I mean, I think that stereotypes and taboo, like all these things that people try to put anything in boxes, like this offense or these quarterbacks, right?
Yeah.
Like Russell Wilson, it would have been how easy to say, well, you could say, I mean, and I'm glad that we're getting past this to a big extent, but it was like, black quarterback must transition to wide receiver in the NFL if he's fast at all. And, it's awesome seeing these quarterbacks that are, I mean, I think Russell Wilson's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And,
but he's phenomenal.
Yeah, he's incredible. Or, I mean, there's just so many talented guys that now, in the past, it was like, well, if you're a runner, can you play quarterback? Or, if you are an air raid guy, that was a stigma for a long time. Air raid guys, he threw for this many yards in college, but it doesn't translate to the NFL. They haven't taken snaps under center. And it's like, okay, like my Pee Wee coach taught me to take snaps under center.
Yeah.
If you're paying a guy like $10 million and he can't one, he can't learn to take the snap under center, or two, you can't teach him, then the whole system's messed up.
There you go.
And, I love seeing these guys now, like, Baker Mayfield and Patrick Mahomes. They're these guys that come from air raid systems that are just absolutely killing it.
Oh, my God, yeah.
And, I mean, it's a great thing to see. And, hopefully we'll get to the point that one day it's not going to be about size or how you look or what system you ran, but just your production on the field.
Yeah. Oh, you got me thinking, all right, the Seahawks should implement the air raid system. You got me hooked in the air raid now. That's beautiful.
And, yeah, I mean, and I'm still waiting for somebody, there's staples of the air raid all over the NFL. Everybody's running some forms of mesh. Everybody's obviously running verticals, different types of flood routes and crossing routes. It's all there. But, I'd be excited to see, because you get all these guys that go to the NFL, like, you see Cliff Kingsbury go. And, yeah, there's definitely, you see some staples of the air raid, but it's more pro style than it is air raid at this point.
Yeah.
Or you saw, say, Chip Kelly when he went, and it was like, oh, he's going to bring this breakneck speed spread option to the NFL. And there was elements of it at times, but, it was a lot more of just it was more pro style than anything else. And I understand that. I understand it because when you have so much turnover with coaches and with players, you almost have to run something similar throughout and have a pretty similar terminology, or there's no way you could pick up this guy week 13 and he's playing the next Sunday and knows the plays and the calls.
Yeah.
So you got to keep things kind of similar for that. And maybe that's why, everyone kind of looks the same in the NFL. That's what I love about college ball, because you got so many different systems. You got the flex bone teams, and you got the pro style, you got air raid, you got run and shoot. I mean, I love the diversity of the offenses.
The option offense too.
Oh yeah, it's a blast.
Oh.
I mean, what's more fun than watching like a Paul Johnson Navy or Georgia Tech team go out there and just rip up 14 minutes off the clock against the number one team in the nation and scoring? It's a blast. I love it.
Awesome. It's great. Stan, I appreciate the talk, my man. This was a ton of fun. You are more than welcome on whenever you'd like. Be sure to shoot me a message, my man. Again, thank you so much for taking your time to do this.
Hey, no problem, man. Really appreciate it. And anytime you want to talk, just holler at me.
Hell yeah, my man. Hell yeah. All right, guys. We'll take a quick break and we'll move on to the next segment of the show.
It's time to BS.
If you could have 4 sandwiches to have for the rest of your life, what would they be? Now, there are rules to this. It can't be a burger, it can't be a hot dog, it can't be a quesadilla.
A U Stadium podcast.
Sorry I have to cut this short, but due to time constraints, this show will be an hour long. So, it is unfortunate, but it is what it is. So, thank you for joining us for this episode of Time to BS Podcast. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow the podcast on wherever you get your shows. Don't forget to follow the Unhinged Sports Network and download the U Stadium app today. So, that's all for me, guys. Unfortunately, it is what it is, but thank you guys for tuning in. And we hope to see you around in the near future. Woo!